The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And it's TGI
Friday, baby. The day after Halloween, which was kind
Halloween.
of a farce.
Well, it's always Halloween
in Fall River.
The creature features that walk around the city of Fall River.
The creature double
It's always
feature.
Halloween night in Fall River.
Yeah.
Well, I guess the big news is today that Acting-Mayor Cliff Ponte reinstates Coogan, Costa, the Durfee Building Committee. Camara returns as co-chair. Well, that's good. The only thing is that they should have never been removed in the first place.
Right, it was politicized.
You know, it's political again. Politics again. Politicians having special treatment. They want special treatment. They have special treatment. They live by a different set of rules, and then they can be vindictive and do something like this. You know, I don't care if you're in favor of Mark Costa or Paul Coogan or regardless of that fact. You know, Paul Coogan was instrumental in pushing this school.
He was instrumental in the debt override.
In a debt override, which we disagreed with,
yeah.
And we'll go on record and say we disagreed, and we proved that it wasn't necessary. But
and remember, we stayed civil. We didn't rip off each other's face.
No, we went to virtually every neighborhood meeting,
yep.
and went hammer and tongue, but it was never, it was never not civil. And the key was that, you know, I think that Paul and that committee were more focused on getting the school, and they truly, I think they truly believed you couldn't delay it, but we knew you could. And we also knew we had the money, and to them, that was a secondary issue. And I don't fault anybody for having a different set of priorities than I do, or a different view than I do, as long as it's not, you know, my way or the highway, or two wrongs two wrongs make a right, not don't make a right. And it's good to see that they returned. Because they shouldn't have been taken out in the first place. That's the bottom line. Forget about their return. Their exit was the issue here. And the things surrounding the exit. So again, politics rears its ugly head. And the other paper I have here is Elizabeth Warren Lord's People's Pledge as Markey stalls. Markey doesn't want to not take he doesn't want to limit outside political spending. Of course not, because what do they do in Washington, CJ? 50% of their time they're doing mandatory fundraising.
That's right.
And if they're Democrats, the other 50% of the time they're trying to get Trump out of office. Even though he's 75%, nearly 75% through with his term, they just can't wait till the next election to get him out.
Well, the rationale behind that for the Democrats is it's not so much getting Trump out of office now, it's ruining the 2020 election by not allowing him to be on the ballot, yeah. So that because they know they can't win the election with Trump in office.
You know, the irony of that is, like I said, they're talking about it, yet the candidate who they say has the best chance of beating him can't raise funds, Biden. I was watching this morning, some news this morning, and Biden, I guess in Iowa, is fourth now. He's fourth. He's behind Warren. He's behind Sanders. I think it was Warren, Sanders, Mayor Pete Buttigieg, or whatever.
Buttigieg, yep.
Buttigieg, or whatever. And then Biden. But they were close. I mean, I think 22, 19,
You'll
18,
notice they're all socialists.
And 17. Yeah, they're all. Except Biden says he isn't a socialist. But, you know, we don't have a heck of a lot to talk about. The election's coming. There's a lot of there's actual character assassination.
Oh, yeah, it's getting crazy.
It's getting really bad. And it's like I don't agree with that stuff, but it's kind of almost, it's sad in a way and comical in another way to look at the depths that people will stoop in a political election. And they're protected. They're protected. It's a sad commentary on the way the nation is, and this is why the nation. We talked about how the politicians, they're crucifying Coogan because they said now he can take his whole salary and he's a double dipper. Well, how about the write-in candidate who's going to bump her pension up in 200 or 300% of what it would have been if she would have got a pension based on being a city councilor.
And a school teacher.
Or a school teacher, which would have been, I don't even know if that would have been a high five, because the reality is she was a school teacher so long ago, they take the high five.
Right.
So school teachers probably, when she was a school teacher, were making less than city councilors are making now. So, but that's the standard of the desperate politicians. Two wrongs make a right, or somebody did something worse than my guy or my girl, and that is it's just flat, to me, wrong. Deal with the issues, fight about your platforms, but don't get personal. And it's terrible. It's just it's out of control.
Yeah, well, what do you expect? It's number one, it is an election season. Number two, it's Fall River. People can't get their head out of their ass. It really is sad. And when you stop looking at it, the issues they're bringing up aren't even issues anymore. They're not even issues.
Okay? Bringing back the purple bags. They had a picture, I saw that, with Coogan's head photoshopped on somebody wearing purple bags. But I mean, look, desperate times breeds desperate measures.
And that's what Paul Coogan made a statement about. He made that statement on Facebook that, desperate candidates will do desperate things. But I honestly don't believe, Paul said he's not going to bring back the purple bags, and I don't think he will. Because if he does, within 90 days of taking office, they can do a recall. and they will try. And they will try.
Oh, absolutely. And it's kind of like Trump. It'll be never, the Jazel / write-in, whomever the write-in is, whether it's Kathy or anybody else, the pseudo Jazel, they have the same philosophy as they do on the federal level. Never Trump and never Coogan. That's their credo. But we get to the thing about only Fall. It's not only Fall River. This morning, I was watching a film clip of the acting Homeland Security Director being attacked by this, oh God, I can't think of her name. She's got a hyphenated name, and she's a Democrat. And she prefaced her remarks to him by saying, "You are going to continue your heinous white supremacist treating of these immigrants." And he then said, first before I begin to get to your question, I'm going to say I am not a white supremacist, nor is the... And she cut him off, and she started... And the thing was, the irony was that at the end, the commentator actually said, again, political privilege. She has every right, and you can't be held liable for slander or libel if you're a politician. You can also commit slander or libel. So he basically said that she has the right, it's legislative prerogative or some euphemism, for them being able to totally control the dialogue. She can cut them off. She can make them refuse to answer. She can shut them up. She can shut them down. She can lie all she wants. That's is so disturbing to me. White supremacist, heinous white supremacist action. And that's what the Democrats are best at, labels. Everybody's wrong except unless you agree with them. So because most of these people who are invading the United States, and I use the word invading intentionally because that's what they're doing, they are illegal and they are invading this country illegally, happen to be Latinos, Hispanics, some came from Africa. But that is not the fault of ICE or Homeland Security. That just happens to be the countries that they're fleeing from right now and attempting to come in here illegally. If for some reason the Scandinavian countries became socialist or repressive, and everybody from Norway, Sweden, and Denmark attempted to cross the Atlantic and come into the United States through Canada, ICE would be commissioned with the same, and Homeland Security would have the same laws. And what are we going to say then? Is that your heinous brown supremacist or non-white supremacist? I don't know, because all they do is make excuses and put labels on something when people are trying to do their job.
That's the key. That's the key.
And that's what disturbs me.
Right.
You know, the people are there. The man is being, the man's job is to enforce the laws of the United States, and we muddy the water by the old sticks and stones may break my bones, but names will never hurt me. No, all they do is call names, and then they make threats that they talk about the heinous behavior of law enforcement. But that's what they're doing, enforcing the law. But when they say it's okay to stab Mitch McConnell in the face or hang Donald Trump, that's okay, because they're liberals and they like everybody that isn't, that doesn't adhere to their philosophy. And that is just ridiculous, and it never ends. And you know, it's almost to the point, as much as I love to watch this process, in a way it's a love-hate relationship now, because it gets to the point now where it's getting so bad, I don't even want to watch it anymore, because it went from that excerpt of this woman lying, and she was intentionally misrepresenting everything, heinous white supremacist acts, like this guy is a member of the American Nazi Party, just to muddy the issue and to make it look like they're bad people, not law enforcement officers. Like every cop is a criminal, because if they arrest your brother, they're terrible. Even though if he committed a crime, now we condemn everybody who doesn't have a different opinion. You can't just debate that opinion and prove them wrong. And then we switch gears from that excerpt to the woman the congresswoman who's stepping down. And what did she do? Started out pretty good. Okay, I screwed up. I had an affair with one of my campaign workers. Okay. Some people may say, so what? I don't care. I don't think you should step down. Some people might say, yeah, I think you should step down because I'm a really religious person and I don't believe in adultery and blah, blah, blah. And that's their own personal opinion. But she said she did something wrong. She admitted she did something wrong, and as soon as that sentence ended, she started. The misogynistic people, we have people in the Supreme Court who who have done things, and because they're males. I thought that the Supreme Court nominee, who was, by the way, approved by Congress and the Senate, and had hearings there, took a big enough beating, but those allegations were never proven, were they?
No, they weren't.
But he's guilty.
That's right.
Because he's a white male. So he will always be guilty in her eyes. But the Me Too movement, they're guilty, but they're not guilty. Because it's not really their fault. They did something wrong, but it doesn't matter. Because the white males did something wrong, and they got away with it. Well, they wouldn't have got away with it if they could prove it. If you could prove that Kavanaugh or anybody else you named in that tirade that you went on.
She named the House, the Senate, the Supreme
Yeah,
Court, and the Oval Office.
Everybody.
Everybody.
Yeah, everybody. And she should have went back to Clinton, because anybody was if anybody was a misogynist, there's Clinton, because we all know what he did in the Oval Office.
Yeah, there's a dress with evidence on it.
And it wasn't signing bills.
That's right.
So, but the fact is, they can't stop themselves, the Democrats. They can't stop just completely getting off a legitimate argument. You want to come on, you want to argue, and granted, they're controversial. I don't begrudge anybody an opinion. But if I disagree with that opinion, I'm not going to say I don't like the way you comb your hair, or you're ugly, or you're a misogynist, or you're a heinous white supremacist, or a heinous brown supremacist, or you're part of the Black Panther movement and you want to kill everybody. No, I'm going to debate why I believe they're wrong. I'm not going to deal in personal attacks, but that's all our politicians can do. 50% of the time they're raising funds, and the other 50% of the time they're engaged in partisan political activity. We have a government on the federal level now that is totally gridlocked. It is incapable of doing anything. They've been in, and they've done absolutely nothing except attempt to overturn an election that's 3/4 over. So, if I get irritated, forgive me, because I'm tired of it. I actually said, oh, okay, with her. I said, good. She said she felt she did something wrong. I wouldn't have cared if she said, well, I did, and I don't care. I had it. Yeah, maybe I shouldn't have done it, but I did it. But I'm going to stay in Congress, and I wouldn't have had any problem with that either. That's her own personal way to handle that problem. She could have said, well, I did it, but I don't think it's got anything to do with my performance as a congressperson. And I could have agreed or disagreed. But then she would have been taking responsibility. But no, you just can't leave it there. They're like little children. Mommy, Mary took more cookies than I did. And Johnny came over from across the street, and he stole cookies too. And Johnny is a white supremacist. It's ridiculous, and it's tiring, and that's why they should all never serve, ever, more than 2 terms. They should have the same damn control as the President of the United States, because the reason they put that control on a president is power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And you leave these bums in forever, and this is what you get.
It's kind of sad. I mean, it's interesting how a man who's doing his job is, a white supremacist. Yeah. And she admitted that, there was porn that was, revenge porn that was sent out. And like she said, when the males did it, when the men did it, or had it done against them, it wasn't a big deal. She made it a big deal.
Yeah, but it was, CJ. When that what's his name from New York was sending out snapshots of his
Wiener.
junk. Yeah, what an appropriate name. How could I forget that? Wiener was displaying his wiener. But the thing is, revenge porn isn't right. I don't agree with that.
No, I don't agree with it either.
She's 100% right. That shouldn't have been done. But don't condemn every single male on the planet. Because the Me Too movement, if you're male, you're guilty. Even if you're proven innocent, you will always be guilty. The same people who out of one corner of their mouth are saying how it's our job to defend the Constitution and we are an equal part of this government. Out of the other side of their mouth, they will say, you're always guilty. Whether you're proven innocent or not, you have no due process. You have no ability to be ever proven innocent because they have now taken, they are the most discriminatory group in the world because they have condemned an entire sex and an entire race, the white race. So if you're white and you're a male and you do anything, that's it. You're guilty forever. They could prove you could get 6 trials and be proven innocent. You could have every evidence that that woman was lying her butt off, and I can tell you exactly what they're going to say, what they've already said. Well, I did everything he said, but it really wasn't consensual because he had power.
Yep.
He had power over me.
And you know, if
you had the power to walk out. When your boss tries to sexually harass you and you consented, you could walk out and get another damn job. You're not going to tell me that if your job is more important to you than your morals, well, then it's you that's got the problem, and the boss has got a problem too, regardless of what sex it is. So don't give me that crap, because I'm sick of hearing it. I'm tired of hearing how powerful men, and these movie actresses waited until how many years later, and they were billionaires now, making $1 million a movie. Now they're going to complain how bad they were victimized. But they didn't care when they did it. So like I said, they could have said no. And maybe it would have taken them an extra couple of years to become a star. Or maybe they wouldn't become a star. But there are people in this world who have enough character and enough integrity to tell you to stick it if you do that. Because I know people who have told people to stick jobs where the sun doesn't shine because they were asked to do things that were against their principles. So I don't want to hear that crap anymore. I am sick and tired of it. And before I'm on this rant again because next Tuesday we have an election. And I want to keep reminding everybody how privileged these turds are. They can lie about you, they can bring you in front, and they'll condemn you for the rest of your life. Kavanaugh will never, ever, no matter what ruling he makes, will never, ever not be victimized by these people. And don't kid yourself, he is a victim. As much of a victim as the person who alleged that they were his victim. Interesting.
Try pulling that stunt on a woman that a woman pulls on a man.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. I mean, you'd be tied to a pole and burned at the stake. It's amazing how it's 2 different rules, not only in politicians, but also between men and women. It's almost like they're trying to create an Amazonian-like country.
Well, and look, you're right. And look, I don't have any problem with them trying it. It's up to us to stop it. But we have to be so politically correct. But what disturbs me about it is that they figure out a way where the Me Too movement, there is no accountability. There are no consequences for any of their reactions because they come up with a way to explain everything away. It doesn't matter. They'll admit that they did all those things. And the guy would, not that Roger Ailes had any, he wasn't the epitome of morality, obviously. He took advantage of his position. But one of those women that brought him down carried on an affair with him for years.
Right.
Years. And you're going to explain that away with your old crap. Well, you have the power. Well, go work on another network. Maybe Roger Ailes was right when he said the only way you can get a job, because you can't get a job with any other network. So now all of a sudden, yeah, I'm not talking about somebody that gets raped forcibly, that fought tooth and nail not to be victimized. I'm talking about people who claim to be victims 10 or 15 years after the fact and used a BS excuse that, oh, they were too powerful. I had to. You had to for like 5 years? You had to meet them in motels and stuff for 5 years? Really? That's just horse manure. And then we're white supremacists and misogynists and you name it, we got it. You know, we don't even have enough room for the labels. If we wore them on our coats, we'd have to wear we'd have to have 7 different coats just to fit all the labels on that we got, because it's a shame. Let's just why doesn't everybody, you abide by your own character and your morals and your integrity? I do not believe. You know, I have nothing but sympathy for people who are forcibly raped and people who are victimized, truly victimized. But don't come and play the victim card on me when you slept your way to the top and did it for years, and now you're going to say, oh, poor me, I had to do it because they were so rich and powerful. Well, I know people who would take 3 jobs, who would work 2 full-time jobs and a part-time job and live on 4 hours of sleep before they do that. I know people with enough integrity that wouldn't do that, because I know people who were in those positions numerous times. They just found another job. So don't give me that baloney. It's getting to the point where it's just absolutely nauseating.
Well, on to another topic here. We have the election coming up, as you said, on Tuesday. A couple of days away. And remember, think back 2 years, think back 4 years, think back 6 years, think back 10 years. Are you better off today with the politicians you have in office than you were 10 years ago, 5 years ago? Because if you're not, and you keep re-electing these idiots for a chow mein sandwich, you've got a problem. The problem is you. It's nobody else. So remember when your tax bills and your water bills go up and you say, oh, I can't afford this anymore. You kept electing them. You kept voting in these people who spend money foolishly. That's what happens. That's what happens. So when you go to the polls, think hard before you cast that vote. Is it worth it? Or was that chow mein sandwich worth that vote?
What was the secret? We're a tiff and tie. But listen, Monday we may have a big surprise. CJ and I were talking about having two new write-in candidates, last-minute write-in candidates. We have a boxer and a bulldog.
Yeah, there you go.
that want to become write-in candidates. We may have them on the show and talk to the 2 of them.
It'll make for a great time. Remember, everybody, this weekend, turn your clocks back. 1 hour, spring ahead, fall back. It's that time of year again.
You get 1 extra hour sleep, and now it gets to be dark at 4
o'clock in the afternoon.
4:37 on the first day it will be dark. So, hey, listen, remember, you are the master of your own destiny. You are the captain of your own ship. Don't play the victim card if you had an opportunity not to be a victim.
And that includes with your votes. Have a great weekend. We'll see you on Monday.